You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Shoe and Show, the Footwear Industries podcast. I think, number one, I'm really excited the podcast numbers keep growing and growing globally, and I think it's because what our mission is on this podcast is to amplify voices, amplify ideas, oftentimes people you may not even know about that work in our industry, but whose voices are really important and whose perspectives are really important to reshape how we see our industry, how we operate, better understanding consumers, etc. And the Footwear podcast is really about all aspects of footwear. And we've been running a really dynamic series, a Black History Month series, about Black footwear professionals in our industry and their perspectives and the work that they're doing. And it's been really great to cheerlead the work that's being done. It's really great to hear the insights as to how they see the industry and where the industry should be going. And so today I'm really excited to have some new additions to the show. I think they're first timers on the Shoe and Show podcast. We will be gentle as we can be. But I'm excited that Sabria from our team has joined us today as a co-host for today's episode. So Sabria, kind of tee us up. Who are we talking to today?
So today we are talking to Tamara Odom, who is the director of product merchandising and global women's footwear at Converse. And we also have Brodrick Foster, who is the director of global product merchandising, energy footwear at Converse. So we're super excited to talk to them today. And to kick things off, tell us about you all's shoe story and how you got started in the footwear industry and a little bit about what you do today.
Tamara, go ahead and kick us off.
Oh, first timer. Hi, thank you for having me. As you said, I've been in the industry, in the footwear industry specifically, for almost 14 years now. I started kind of my journey, my shoe story probably begins in elementary school, maybe. I have older sisters and an older brother, and we happen to wear the same size for most of our lives. And so I think the great part about it was my sister wore lots of sneakers and I was always ready to find out what she was buying so that I could eventually wear them, match my outfit with whatever it was. And then, that kind of began my love for sneakers and fashion. In high school, I'm pretty tall. No one can see me, but I'm a pretty tall person. And in high school, everyone would be like, do you play ball, volleyball, basketball? And I'm like, no, I like to go to the mall instead. And I think I started kind of my love for that space and fashion and merchandising, styling, just being ultimate consumer. In high school, working in retail stores in the mall. In college, I worked in retail stores, etc. And I think that when I graduated from college, I honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a teacher, a professor that was like, you should really look into buying. And I'm like, what's that? I looked into it. I thought it was an awesome way to see what it was like on the other side of the table behind kind of the curtains of the industry that I loved and spent most of my time in as a high school and college student. So my journey started off as a planning and allocation person. I moved into buying, and then I moved to Boston. I'm from Boston originally, and I moved to Boston and found out that Converse existed here. And it's kind of been amazing ever since. I've had a great experience. I've worked in the global product team from Chuck Taylor. I've worked as a merchandiser in North America. I currently am on the women's business. I've also worked on the energy side and collaborations. And so it's been 14 years, but I remember 2008 like yesterday when I came to Converse and was like, whoa, this is home. So it's been a great journey. But, it's for the love of being the ultimate consumer. And, my pockets are not happy about that, but here we are.
Hopefully you have a good discount at Converse. Hopefully.
Listen, I mean, that is an amazing perk. That's
I'll
for
say
sure.
too, it's always interesting to hear people who have worked the floor, right, at local retail and their perspective. And that's what's great about having Sabrina on the team is that she worked Nike outlet for many years and brings a great perspective in terms of product, but also consumer engagement and relations. And I think that's really meaningful. So that's awesome. Brodrick, tell us a little bit about your shoe story and what you do there.
Yeah, hey, thank you for having me. I would say my experience is a lot unique to a lot of people in the footwear industry because I always say my footwear journey starts with footwear finding me. I grew up in Michigan and graduated with an IT degree. And, for my journey, what's great about getting an IT degree was that actually IT degree got me into Nike, working in supply chain. So people are probably like, now, wow, why does someone from supply chain get into footwear? Well, when you get to Nike, which is an amazing company and so forth, you start a networking, right, of folks who are actually, across functions of footwear to finance to sports marketing, and really kind of hunched on the back of a network of group of folks who were just starting at the same time as me. And I started to learn about the footwear function from product marketing to development to design. And at that point, a lot of people who were kind of the shoes that you saw as a kid, whether it was Huaraches, Foamposites, Air Force Ones, you start to find out who the people were in the industry who was making the footwear. And immediately I said, I want to do that. So I got a role in product footwear, learning how to build the products, right? Working with our counterparts over in the factories and so forth, and learning really how to build the products. And from there, I always tell people that's it, the industry found me versus because I just didn't have a clue where Nike was, right? How do you even get a job there? I just had no clue how to get there. So I've worked across multiple functions from product development, North America creation to now coming over to Converse. I've been here for now 10 years. So I've been in the industry for about 15 years. So I feel like a grandfather now. And crossed over a multitude of functions from the kids footwear to sports style to now the position that I'm doing today, which is the energy team. The energy team collectively goes across a couple functions. It goes across basketball, skate, and then our partners, our collaboration partners as well. So I would say for everyone, that's my journey. Unfortunately, I didn't start off being a collector of footwear and so forth. My first pairs of shoes, again, being Michigan born. So if you're Michigan, you know this store is called Myers 50 Acres. My mom bought me my first pair of shoes. They were called XJ 900s.
What are those?
They were exactly looked just like the Jordan 3. Had all of the bells and whistles, but unfortunately they were not Michael Jordans, and they cost $10.99, not $150.
My journey to footwear is a lot like yours, man, where my family couldn't afford Jordans, so we got the knockoffs, and I got bullied at school because of it. But, that's the way it goes. I can afford them now.
Yeah. And me and my buddy, tried to remove the X and try to add an M there with the J. So people would think it's like a one-off. Hey, it was MJX.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the exclusive.
Yeah.
Pairs,
so you're in the customization. You're in customization as well. And
you could already see I had a knack for it at an early age, but people saw right through when I get on the basketball court and slide.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Let me ask you from your, and this question's unique because I think it'll draw out also explaining better the work that you do and what you're focused on. But in terms of project management and things that you've worked on in your career, what's one of the most favorite projects you've worked on at Converse or Nike? And Tamara, we'll start with you first.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to have to go with two. I have two, and I promise I won't spend too much time on both of them, but they're for different reasons. So the first one I would say that is one of my favorite projects is last year. I was on the energy team prior to being the women's product footwear director. And I was able to work on the Space Jam, a new legacy collection that went across Nike Inc. And so, working in collaborations, we it was the true definition of how the power of the ink can come together in so many different functions across color, materials, project management, legal, brand marketing, every aspect, and really kind of the athlete as well, and really pushing the boundaries of like, what does collaboration look like, that is connected to something that is so ingrained in basketball culture, with a new legacy coming out starring LeBron. We're all working from home, and so like, my kids are major fans of LeBron, major fans of the Space Jam space, and so they thought mommy was the coolest mother out there. And so it really was a clash of all the worlds coming together. Like, my husband's a basketball coach. My sons love basketball. I have nephews and such that play basketball in college and high school. And so it was basketball, but it was my role. It was Chuck Taylor. It was LeBron. It was all of these pieces that I was like, whoa, this is like powerful. It's phenomenal. And so, when the movie came out, my kids had the sneakers, like we're watching, it was just beautiful. And so that was probably, and my sons are older now. Well, they're 5 and 7, but they also appreciate it a little more, like how cool mommy is. And so I think the cool points that I got in all aspects of life kind of helped that project, honestly, be one of my favorite things to work on. And I would say the other project that also, again, is a clash of all the worlds that were coming together in 2020 specifically, was the project that the Converse team did with Tremaine Emory and his Denim Tears brand. And so we used the African American flag and put it on a Chuck 70. And, given kind of all of the things that were going on in the world at that time, I really felt like, wow, I am bringing my whole self to work. I'm bringing all aspects of me to the office, into the work that I do. And yes, it was in the height of the pandemic when it first started, social unrest, all of these things. And it was like I was working on sneakers, but I was working on sneakers that had a story, sneakers that had and was ingrained in like the passion that we all felt, and kind of pushing these positive messages forward and being able to contribute to the community in which I came from. So again, one of the blessings of the role that we have now is like you're able to just bring in all the pieces of you, and then it turned into product that then people consume, obviously, but it's coming from a true, authentic origin. So those are my two favorites. There's probably many more. So whoever's listening and worked on a project with me, they're like, why didn't you pick mine? I promise I love all my children.
That's it. Cover them all. Cover them all.
I promise you I love all my children the same, but they're awesome favorites out there.
Brodrick, what about you?
Well, like Tamara, there are lots of projects I can name, but one stands out to me. It's really around basketball and us working with an amazing team, reigniting Converse basketball, because it was very personal to me because of my love for the sport, right? I got to be a part of an amazing team to reimagine what Converse basketball can be today, which I believe we've done right by, by our heritage, being the original basketball brand. If you think about it today, hey, Nike leads in the industry of innovation, right? Jordan represents the man, the myth, the legend, the passion of the flight of the game, right? And then there's us. Converse celebrates the progress, individuality of the athlete. We have some 5 unique, authentic athletes across the board. If we just use, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Draymond, 2 guys of style and, and voice and so forth. So I'm super proud of us as a brand, being able to bring that back to life to help collaborate and carve out our own space in this basketball world because it's so big. And I'm just really happy to be a part of something very unique to the brand.
Yeah, those definitely sound like super cool projects. Did you guys get to meet any of the basketball players that you guys were working with or come in contact with any of them?
Yeah, so we work closely with them. Being the team, I'm just there as an observer. I don't get to spend as much time, and then our PLM leads the charge of working with all of our athletes. They are the reason. If you see a lot of the creations that you see on the marketplace, we're helping them tell their story, right, from a personal and unique standpoint. That's how we use them, and that's how they're able to tell their voice.
Yeah, that's super cool. And so, Tamara, you had mentioned a little bit about 2020. And in 2020, we saw a lot of social unrest with the protests and the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others. And so since then, a lot of companies have, done the work to increase diversity, to make their minorities feel more comfortable. What are some of the initiatives that Converse has implemented since 2020 or since, they've started their diversity and inclusion programs?
So I would note, I think that obviously that was like the ramp up of many companies to get after. I would say that Converse actually has had a space in kind of inclusion and ensuring that, the employees of color had a space in general for prior to 2020. So the network that, that we have employee resource networks that are inclusive of Pride, Abilities Network, Women of Converse, and we have a network that is called Mosaic. And the organization is created and was created, I believe, so it's been like six years. I think we're in our 6th or 7th year. I sit on the board for Mosaic, and basically it is an opportunity for our employees to have a space in which they can celebrate their kind of range of perspectives as an employee of color, but also, feel and know that bringing your authentic self to work is very important. And if you have to shed who you are when you come into the doors of Converse, then that means that we're not doing a good job. And I believe truly that you don't. Like, Tamara shows up as Tamara every single day. If you saw Tamara outside of the Converse building, she is who she is. And if you saw her inside, she is in fact that same person. And I think that's the beauty and kind of why I enjoy the brand so much, because I truly felt that. And I feel that, and I know that, having Mosaic as an organization that is there for those purposes really allows for the sense of community to really exist and exist authentically. And so we know that obviously in 2020, there were a lot of worlds colliding. They continue to collide. But I will say the thing that has been constant from our brand and from my perspective at our brand is that the opportunity to be you has always been there. And I appreciate that. And that's why it's such a blessing, like I said earlier, to be a part of an organization where I don't have to be someone else. Like, we show up in t-shirts. It's great. Like, life is grand, and we show up in t-shirts because we're working from home or because we're working in the building, and that's okay. And if you show up in a suit, that's also okay. And just the goal is to show up as you. And so I think that the brand has done many things. There's lots of organizations that have, been given donations. We work very closely with the social impact team as a Mosaic board to ensure that it is coming from an authentic space and that we are able to communicate with one another in areas that are important. And furthermore, it's not necessarily just there's donations given. We also want to be engaged, our employees to be engaged with the organization so that it does, we can speak to young Tamara who grew up in Dorchester that didn't know that these roles existed. If I can speak to a girl that looks like me that is from Dorchester and is wow, you're doing this, so can I, then the brand is winning in that space. So I think that, there's more work to be done. There's always more work to be done, but I think that at the very least, we're putting in our efforts to ensure that we can be the change that we want to seek. And sometimes you won't see it in your lifetime. Sometimes you will. And I think the pressure of seeing it now is there. However, I know that I have impacted some people. I know that we as a brand have impacted people and organizations and members of those organizations. And that, allows me to go to sleep peacefully at night.
Yeah. And then I'll flip this question over to Brodrick. You guys have talked a lot about, your leadership roles and how you got there. But, oftentimes for minorities, it is a little bit harder for us to reach some of these levels in our careers. So what would be your best advice to young Black professionals who want to scale up in the footwear industry?
I have 3 things that could hopefully be very helpful and simple. One is you can sit in the seat. You can sit in our seats if you want. What's really cool, and I'll double back on what Tamara mentioned, is, our brand is super unique and authentic and really cool. And I'm just saying that because I work for the brand. But, if I think about myself, a young man who's grown up in this industry and so forth, I can see the top of the mountain, right? I can see my VP looks like me. My VP, my VP looks like me. My CEO looks like me. My senior director. So automatically, I know I can get there, right? Because there's someone who looks like me, and I think that's very unique for a brand to look like that. And I say that a lot of times when I'm speaking to people like yourself, or just out in the industry when I'm mentoring. You can get in the seat. The second thing is build a network. And when you start to build that network, build the tenacity along with the network. When I was at Nike, again, seeing the supply chain and so forth, not really knowing what I wanted to do, I started to build a network, and I would get on those people's nerves because I'm knocking on their door and begging for a job all the time. Like, I want to be in footwear. I want to be in footwear. Like, I would go up to the Nike basketball group. I go up to the sportswear group. Like, I just want to be a sponge and learn, because all of a sudden I sparked that I found the love that I was really wanting to. So the curiosity it growed all the time, and I'm still curious now about this industry and what people do, because I really think it's some really cool people in this industry, and it's just unique. It's grown bigger to what it is now. It was before the sneakerheads and so forth, but I would say if you really want to do this, build your network and don't ever give up. And the last thing I think is very important, especially for young people coming out of school, be ready so you don't have to get ready. Know what you want. Have a plan, have a resume ready, especially if you're coming to some of these events. Now that Dr. Dwayne Edwards has a school, and we're going to be having a forum in Detroit, show up with your resume, show up what you've done and why you are passionate about this. It shouldn't just be, hey, I want to get into this because I, work at the local store. No. Like, have a plan, be ready.
I think this is a good point too, and I'll ask Sabria before I ask you a couple more questions and we wrap. But Brodrick was talking about networking, right? And so Sabria is helping put together an advisory committee and a group to kind of reform what we've been doing at FTRA to help the broader Black footwear professional community. And so maybe Sabria, just really quickly explain how that's being reimagined and what kind of networking events might be coming up.
So the Black Footwear Forum is a platform for Black professionals to come together and network, get to know each other, and just build community. Currently, like Brodrick stated, we do have a national event coming up. It'll be held in Detroit sometime around the fall, late summer. So we're really excited about that. But we're also creating regional spaces. So in spaces such as Boston, New York, Ohio, and even Atlanta and others, we're creating spaces where people in that area can come together and meet each other and really build stronger connections than you may not be able to do at a national event. So we're really excited about that. We recently have just released like a press release and a website and newsletters about it. So if you're interested, you can always just hit us up at info@fdra.org and get more information about it.
Yeah, it's exciting to see people get together again, right? Have social collisions in person.
Yeah. What was cool is, we had that forum in DC. It felt like a family reunion to me because I hadn't seen
Yeah,
so
it
many
was
people
awesome.
so long. I'd be like, we were all together, and it was a really great forum. And of course, the two leading speakers, one personally, who works for us, Brandis, they were really, really well done. And then to give that award to Wilson, who's the first African-American designer in the industry was amazing.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys, before I get to my last fun question, I did want to ask people are more and more getting back together, right? We're getting back into spaces. How has remote working worked for you guys? Are you excited to get back to the office? Are you excited to have hybrid? How do you, around product creation and collaborations, like those projects you worked on, how has that worked during COVID for you guys?
So I will go first on that. I think hybrid world life is awesome. I also believe as a product person, like you have to touch and feel the product.
Right.
And so, we are excited to go back. Like I'm eager to like go into the office and like touch product. Like I feel a sense of like, oh my God, like I'm so excited to be here type space, because it really truly, it's invigorating, and it's like why we are here. I think on the flip side, having the ability to work remotely has been amazing. I think it has allowed for people to, as I said, showing up as your full self is important to me. And you have to show up as your full self on remote. Like if you're a parent, if you're a dog owner, if you have things going on, like you might even now hear my child yelling mommy who's downstairs, but that happens. And, you cannot just kind of remove the rest of you. And so I think the remote working has brought our teams together. It's humanized people, I think, in a space that has been where you could just show up.
Yep.
But now it's like all of you is in this kind of little box. But I think the flexibility of being able to like pick my child up from school or picking them up from the bus is great. I'm excited to go back to work. I continuously still buy sneakers, like, although we're not wearing them right now, but I buy them and I can't wait. I got fits lined up for days when we get back to the office because, we've just been waiting patiently to get there. So it's been awesome. I think Converse as a brand and Nike Inc. has been really flexible in ensuring the needs of the teammates are met. And I can't wait, like literally can't wait.
I personally have loved every moment of it, and I'll tell you why. Tamara hit it right on. To know people's kids and like tiny kids. To Tamara's son Blake interrupting her because he wants a cookie. To my boss's daughter who gets up every single morning and joins us for our team meeting. It's been remarkable to know the people you work with on a personal level. I think it's really brought our team together. And I've heard that from other colleagues, working in finance and other functions. I've loved it. With that said, Tamara has brought a good point. I just love touching the product. I just love seeing it. I love putting it on the wall. And then also, I live in a city, so I like getting on the train and seeing the consumers before I go to work and after going to work. Sometimes I go to retail spots afterwards. We have two really remarkable we got some sneaker stores here and so forth that we like to go to and check out and talk to the sales associates. That's been the bonus of getting back out of the pandemic, but it's also, allowed us to be more sharper, right? And talk about the things that we don't want to do anymore as we move forward, and also be more digitally savvy, right? We've invested in some new technology functions to help us really look at things as one. And it's also allowed us to be very innovative in how we move forward.
Yeah.
And how we function.
It's amazing. It's amazing how 5 years ago we had this like business management idea that you should leave your home life at home, right? Like imagine that 5 years ago. And today we're actually saying leadership and management is a lot more about empathy and sympathy and like relating with your employees, and that you guys are kind of great. And the other thing too is purpose. Brodrick, you mentioned this, but it's like, what do you not want to do? Sabrina had these conversations all the time. It's like, what do you hate doing? Let's automate it. Let's get it off your plate so you can focus on something you really want to do and have a passion about,
Absolutely. And you start to just think about some of the things that you might not necessarily need to be doing your job that didn't make good sense, right? It's like, hey, how do we be sharper and purposeful in things we should be doing to, really grow the business versus some things we can leave behind.
Yeah, cool. Kind of wrapping it up, this is a fun question, but you guys talk a lot about the product side, so we're always curious about what your favorite sneaker is at the moment. And Sabrina, I want you to chime in as well because you're a sneakerhead as well. But Tamara, what's your in all those stacks you got in your closet, you're waiting to like unveil over? I'm sure you got a strategy and you got a chart that you're gonna. So what's your favorite sneaker at the moment?
So, meaning, what's my back to the office sneaker of choice?
That and just in the moment, like in the marketplace, like what's hot? Like, what do you most like?
So, I would say, being true to the function that I'm in, which is women's footwear, I am really enjoying the Runstar family. So, the Runstar Hike or the Runstar Motion are two models that are out in the marketplace. Go get them if you hear me. But they really are awesome. Like, they're my everyday. I dress them up, can dress them down. Wear them with cargos, wear them with a dress. Like, I can wear either of those sneakers regularly. And those are my favorites right now. So Runstar Hike, Runstar Motion. I feel like there's more, and there are. But I'll stick with those two for right now.
Cool. Brodrick?
For me right now, this year for me is going to be the year of the One Star for me. That model being a classic shoe rooted in basketball, but now adopted by skateboarders. We've done some really great things to authenticate in the marketplace, make it really comfortable for that rider and so forth. And then what I love about it is it gives you the premium execution of materials, suedes, and nubucks, you know. So I really love that shoe. And it's also another shoe that you can play off of, you know, because we have a lot of shoes that have a lot of toe caps. That one does not have a toe cap. So it gives you a little different vibe for me. So I'm gonna spend a lot of time in that shoe this summer, to be honest with you. We've done some really good things to kind of make it wearable when you don't have socks, which I love because I don't like wearing socks in the summertime. Is another piece for me.
Sabria, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to stay on the same vein with Converse. The Run Star hikes. I have a pair of like green and blue ones, and they're really cute. And yeah, my sister tried to steal them from me the other day, and I had to grab them back. So those are my favorite. Those are my favorite ones so far.
I did not plot that in Sabria's head.
That's why I like Sabria. That's why I like Sabria, working with Sabria, is because she keeps me informed of what's out and what's happening. I'm not a sneakerhead. I'm not a product person. I'm just curious about business stuff, and that's kind of what I bring to the table. But you
do wear sneakers on your feet, so you are there. You see,
this is a podcast. Yeah, here we go. It's a podcast, so I have to be descriptive on this. But we do have, we do have Converse All Star, the Chuck Taylor shoe, and it is customized with the FDRA logo. We'll have that in the office, and I think I'll be excited to wear these more and more over the summer as I get out and about more. But this is a trend I really like personally, is the customization side, right? I think the curious thing about this is where it's headed, right? I think from a business standpoint, you can't customize everything, right? You can't pick and choose every single thing because it costs too much. But these printing, the ability to print logos and unique things, I think going forward is going to be something that's really driving, especially the younger generations who want to find they want to attach to a brand that they know and love, but also with their own style, right? So
yeah, it's really a blank canvas of the shoe. We see a lot of consumers across the world that just to that point, they may not go get a screen print, they may just draw on it, and doodle words, whatever they want. It's really a blank canvas shoe.
Yeah, that's what I'll give you guys. You guys can make just a basic white Converse All Star and call it the Doodle, and include a Sharpie with it, and they can that. Now I'm gonna IP that. I'm gonna hold you guys to it if it does come out, but it's nothing unique, right? People have been doing that in the school forever. You don't want to sit and listen to their teachers, so that's the fun thing about it. So, well, folks, thanks as always for listening. We encourage everybody, if you want to know more about the Black Footwear Forum, you can go to fdra.org, or I believe the URL, and Sabria can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's blackfootwearforum.com. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
And you can learn more about those upcoming networking events. And throughout the year, we'll be launching new projects and new programs to try to strengthen the Black footwear community in a variety of ways. Folks, as always, shoeandshow.com is our website. We've been doing this podcast for 5 years. We're growing leaps and bounds because I think we have honest, authentic conversations about the industry, all types of segments. But I encourage you to go back in there, and any issue you work on, we've talked about. And even if it's a little bit dated a couple of years, we try to talk about fundamentals and culture and leadership a lot. And I think you can find really useful things to your job, or maybe think about things a little bit differently. And that's really what we're trying to do on this podcast. And we appreciate you listening. And until next time, Shoein is out.
Shoein has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.